It's Monday, the 24th of November, 2025. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1's a big one. Experts are forecasting record house prices across all capital cities by the end of next year, and rental growth is set to accelerate once again, even as the local market takes a bit of a breather with some slightly disappointing clearance rates over the weekend.
The Domain annual forecast says that after years of affordability strain and tight supply, the next 12 months will see a surge in prices. We've had 3 cuts in interest rates this year, rising household incomes, a wave of first home buyer demand under the expanded First Home Guarantee Scheme. That will all combine to push prices higher. However, by the end of next year, new supply will hit the market, affordability issues will kick in again, so the surge is likely to taper into 2027, according to Domain. The online property group expects median house prices in Sydney to jump to nearly $2 million this time next year. Melbourne, nearly $1.2 million. Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth, they've been the hot cities the last couple of years. That will come off somewhat. Domain reckons that the rush of first home buyers competing with investors will inject new energy into the market. In fact, they said it'll be about the equivalent of 5 interest rate cuts at once. Bad news for renters is that after a reprieve this year, they're likely to do it tough, with rents accelerating again across the country.
All right, so price-wise, the outlook is good, but what about the spring selling season, which, can you believe it, it actually ends this week?
Yes, incredible. Just seems to have run out of steam a bit. The preliminary clearance rate for auctions over the past week has fallen below 70% for the first time in more than 5 months, according to Cotality. Plenty of homes going up for auction, 3,000 in the last week, 3,400 this week. But the proportion of sales are down. Sydney and Melbourne are both under that 70% mark. Brisbane at its lowest in 8 weeks. The consensus view among economists is that whilst the market is coming off a little bit, prices will rise, but, just a bit of nervousness around the place.
All right, on to story number 2 now, Sean, and strap yourself in. It is arguably the biggest week in the retail year, with Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales kicking off, and more than $6.8 billion is expected to be spent over the next week.
Well, that's what Roy Morgan reckons will be spent in the 4 days from Friday to Monday. So I reckon we can go $8 billion fairly confidently over the next week. There has been a shift in spending, though, with a survey by Boston Consulting Group suggesting people are now using the sales for essential items rather than just big ticket items. The other interesting thing they looked at is the amount needed to discount items to draw in customers. So, according to BCG, consumers will think a clothing and shoe sale is a good deal if they can get a 36% discount. They only need a 28% discount to think that athletic equipment is a good deal. Interesting, the different categories and how people view them.
Yeah, absolutely. Story number 3 is one from politics. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and other world leaders issued a declaration at the G20 summit in South Africa over the weekend, backing the Paris Climate Change Agreement, endorsing net zero climate emissions by the middle of the century, and praising free trade.
The federal government also signed up to a voluntary statement calling for a plan to eventually phase out fossil fuels. The G20 summit was controversial from the beginning, with US President Donald Trump boycotting the conference in Joburg following months of accusations that South Africa was discriminating against minority white Afrikaners. The meeting overlapped with the end of COP30 in Brazil. Its final communique wasn't what many had hoped for. It didn't mention fossil fuels, for example. However, it did introduce global trade talks into the discussion. That was a clear swipe at Donald Trump. That's actually where the federal government signed up to the voluntary statement for the plan to phase out fossil fuels. Albanese said it was a good thing that all COP summit participants had been able to agree on a communique, saying it was a positive sign that the world at least was talking to each other.
Story number 4, federal Labor has widened its lead over the opposition in the latest Newspoll in The Australian. It's a fairly significant margin, currently ahead 58% to 42% on a two-party preferred basis.
In politics, that is the length of the straight, or maybe more. Core support for the coalition is static at just 24%. That's the lowest level since primary voters were counted in Newspoll 40 years ago. Opposition leader Susan Lee's approval rating has risen slightly from -33 to -29. Cold comfort, I'd say. The poll says Andrew Hastie is the most preferred option to Susan Lee, although almost half the respondents to the survey didn't actually know who they preferred. One Nation is the winner in all this. It recorded a record high 15% primary vote.
Last one, story number 5. Passengers on Australian Airlines will no longer be able to use power banks during flights in a crackdown aimed at preventing cabin fires.
The move matches action taken by international aviation authorities this year, kicks in next month, covers Virgin, Qantas and Jetstar. Airlines said passengers should store spare batteries and personal electronic devices in the seat pocket or under the seat in front of them. They can carry up to 2 power banks, but they can't actually use them. Now, the International Air Transport Association recommends that if passengers need to pack a personal electronic device in their checked baggage, they must be completely switched off and not packed near flammable liquids like perfumes and aerosols.
Okay, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Monday, the 24th of November 2025. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And head along to our website, fearandgreed.com.au, or click in the link in our show notes as well to sign up for our free daily newsletter. It is in your inbox every morning by 6 a.m. and is a great cheat sheet to help you get ahead for the day. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.